uncomfortably growing would be something I want people to think about. If you're comfortable with your plan, if you're comfortable with what you're doing, probably not going to end in the way that you actually think you want, right? So if you're uncomfortable with what the outlook is for the next year, then you're on the right path to do something about it.
Welcome to the Throne of Wealth, the podcast that empowers you to reign over your financial future. Each episode brings you tax strategies, wealth building insights, and stories from inspiring entrepreneurs. Each episode brings you tax strategies, wealth building insights, and stories from inspiring entrepreneurs. The Throne of Wealth is brought to you by King of Kings accounting firm, where financial challenges become opportunities for growth. Let's get into it.
Hi, welcome to another episode of the Throne of Wealth. And today we have one of the main advisors that you should have in your team, especially for all business owners out there, entrepreneurs that have more than 10 years, hustling, hard work, burned out, the lows and highs and lows. I always call it the roller coaster, the commitment on a day-to-day basis. This is one of the coaches and advisors that you should have in your team. Welcome, John, to our podcast today.
Wow, Karen, thanks for having me. And thanks for, I hit record on that so I could use that for my own advertisement. So thank you.
That is, off camera, we were having a small introduction and conversation, and I know you from obviously before this recording today. I am fascinated with the work that you do and how you help so many business owners out there, to build their businesses, to have a plan for the future. We're going to go into more details, but I do want to set the platform here for all of the listeners out there, especially those that are clients of King of Kings, right? We know how important growth is. We know how important having a projection, positioning our business to increase our multiple in the event that we're going to do an exiting plan or succession plan in the future, right? We build a life by design, by purpose. And this is the conversation today with John. John, please tell us more, because I'm so fascinated to hear about, business growth. You are one of the most well-known coaches in the community, and I want our business owners today to learn more about what you do.
Man, thanks, Karen. Again, I promise I didn't write that script. So thank you for saying all those kind words. So what I do is I'm a Bloom growth coach, and what that means is I grow and help leadership teams grow in many ways, interpersonally, professionally, and scaling wise, and then in turn scaling the business. And really, Bloom Growth Operating System is a communication and execution tool, and we really do that by simplifying and prioritizing. Right? As we were talking off camera a little bit. It's setting some disciplines in place and some rigors in place that most companies just don't do. Right? They just grow based on hard work and grit and good personality, good hard hustle. And then they hit a ceiling and they realize they're either burnt out or they don't know what's next, and or both, right? So yeah, that's what we do. And so I help companies that middle-sized, 5 million up to 50 million, 10 to 250 people, because that's that sweet spot. The smaller ones small companies are still figuring some things out. And the very, very large ones, they already have a plan, right? They've already invested and done different things. It's that middle market that really has I call it the lid on top, that just needs a secret sauce to pop that lid and really grow exponentially. And so we help growing companies, we help newer companies, we help old companies, and then we also have one thing that's a little bit of a differentiator, which is fun, is we have a curriculum called Epic Event. So as you mentioned, succession and exiting. We call it Epic Events. So there's a program, if you go along with us, that we help you over time enroll your employees in your strategy to not to exit, but to have an event. Because we realize most companies in that size range, most owners aren't really exiting their company. They're still along for the ride somewhere along the way. So we call it an epic event. And so, and in so many ways, it becomes a surprise to the employees when that happens, whenever there's an event, someone's selling. And we flip that around and we say, maybe we don't surprise everyone. How about we let your leadership team know and we allow them to help you grow, right? So that's a fun part of the kind of the backside of what I get to do.
Wow, it is amazing because, as business owners, we work hard every day, right? I was speaking with someone earlier today and I said, it's all about the commitment. It's all about learning that little formula of, for all accountants and my team, it doesn't make sense. Less is more.
Mhm.
But in business and leadership, we do understand that less is more. More no's means saying yes to the right, appropriate opportunities or tasks that we're going to tackle in that moment. And in this conversation, you mentioned something extremely important that I even wrote it down: accountability, right? And then when you said selling or having a plan, an epic event for the future, and foreseeing the future, right? What we do today will have a result in the near future. What you do, John, and what you guys offer to the market and to the industries out there, it is extremely important because we don't think and we don't position our business to be a tool that it will provide for us in the future. What happens when I am running a company that right now I'm at a break point? I am at $8 million and I'm trying to go to 14. I already have contracts in place. I don't have leadership. I don't have systems in place. I
Mhm.
don't have role duplication, right? I don't have a roadmap, and I don't have probably financials to support my vision. But yeah, I do have the business. I have worked extremely hard. So with hard work, I brought my company here, and this is one of my clients, by the way. So I kind of want to, for the audience to set up some some real scenario events out there. What do you do if you find yourself here? What you are at $8 million trying to take your business to that, passing those 8 figures, right? And who do you need?
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter what is being real and honest with what you want. Because a
Mhm.
lot of times when I go through a process, the process with clients, and I'm guilty of this too, back with my company. And I recall, and some people say, "Oh, we want to grow 10x in 5 years." And that's what I used to say because I thought that's what everybody wanted me to say. I thought that's what I'm supposed to be as a business owner. I should want to grow huge, right? And the more we grow, and sometimes other people, I asked, "Do we really?" Because their actions aren't aligning with saying they want to do 10x. Because to do 10x, you've got
Mhm.
to do some things that you haven't done in the past that are pretty radical,
Mhm.
potentially, right? You
Mhm.
can't just add one salesperson and you're going to do that. There's definitely many other things. And so, number one is being honest with what you really, really want. Because a lot of times, once we start talking about what that takes, it's like, oh,
Mhm.
whoa, maybe not. Maybe I just want to double this thing in a couple of years, right? So
Mhm.
it's not trying to cap someone from growing, but it's like being realistic and honest with what they want. That's number one. What's
Mhm.
the end? What's the end game? And if it's an exit, then let's be real on that. If it's, if it's we want to grow it and hand it over to family, okay, those are it could be all the same answer, but just different ways that we're going
Mhm.
about it. So that's number one. Secondly, no matter what you're doing, is have an advisor of some sort or fashion.
Mhm.
Whether that's someone like yourself from the tax side, from the
Mhm.
accounting side, whether it's a coach like I do that
Mhm.
help input operating systems.
Mhm.
I'm not just saying a plug. It's me and I solve the problem. You
Yeah.
need to have a coach. Um, and trusted advisors. You didn't get where you got today alone. You may have done most of the work, but people get us there. Then you need someone who's probably not within your circle of influence to get you to the next step.
Yeah.
Because people that know you are in your circle, they're going to tell you what you want to hear versus someone else outside, again, like you were just describing
Mhm.
that situation and you're already poking holes all in it, where their current group is probably like, yeah, we're doing great. But when you take that step back and you realize
Mhm.
someone else can look at that lens far different
Mhm.
about the business. So I guess step one is absolutely get into a conversation with a trusted advisor, um, and interview them and be honest with what you want. Don't tap dance. And if you really want it, be ready to step into it.
Yeah, that's powerful, right? It's who do we have in our team who is giving us guidance for where we're going and creating the map, paving the way so that the road doesn't feel as far and we can get there sooner rather than later. John, tell us a little bit about how do we set up accountability, or what would be some key points that you will say for business owners out there that I either doing anywhere from 5 to 25, right? Because I feel like that's a number that sometimes for those business owners that are at 5 7, they feel kind of impossible to get to 25. But that could happen in, like, if you just do some tweaks in your business.
Absolutely.
That could happen by adding that right hire. that could happen by, creating the brand. And that doesn't have to happen in 10 years. That could happen in a matter of lesser time. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, going back to the word accountability, we like to try different language with accountability that comes to the same thing. And it's we say lead, manage, and help your employees
Mhm.
win. So, right, from a management perspective, how are we helping them win?
Mm.
Versus accountability comes across as, and sometimes you do need something like this, the scary wise, but it sounds like if I don't do my job, I'm fired, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's true, but do we want to have them fighting
Mm.
um, for the downside or fighting for the upside? So we say,
I
how do
see
we
what you
help?
say. Yeah.
And how do we help them win is by setting clear expectations, making sure they know their roles and responsibilities, and making sure that they're measurable. Their output is measurable in some form or
Mm.
fashion, and we're measuring it, and not for the sake of measuring, and not just for, hey, are you doing your job? Like put your thumb on it. Are you doing your job? It's how are we doing it so they know the impact that they're making on the business, right?
Mm.
So that's how we have. If we set clear expectations and we're following up on them to make sure that they're following up on their end, that is the form of accountability, but not with, "Hey, are you doing this? What aren't you
Yeah.
doing?" Right? Coming at it from a positive light, we get far more output.
Okay, creating more like a clear path. So career path, I call it in my office, showing how they can win in the position that they're in. So
Mhm.
what success look like? Okay, I see that. That's a better word. It sounds a lot better because we don't want a culture where everyone is kind of like walking on eggshells, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Scared. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, this is where, me as a manager, right, been the visionary in my company, and, I realize I know I'm not a very good employee, and
Mhm.
I'm also not a great manager. I consider myself a good leader, right?
Mm.
People to follow, but I had struggled in the past and that's why I had trusted people around me to do these things. Um, and my implementers or integrators or general managers, whatever name someone would like to call it, my number two, and those managers around me, the manage part is where I struggled. So that manage part
Mm.
is setting expectations and then regularly checking on them. And that's the one where, one, I'm tough to be. I'm tough to be held accountable, and I'll use that ugly word because I'm a terrible employee. Uh, and 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 so that's why having those disciplines, and for folks like me that might not, uh, it's not natural to do so. It's having those checks in place that would at least make it happen, right? Or have those around us help us to make those things happen.
Yeah. So you said something really important as business owners. I often see this when I have leaders. Well, I have these conversations daily, John. All of my clients own a business of some sort, and sometimes they have this dysfunctionality in their team because they have the manager,
Mhm,
someone that they place into the position by title, and
mhm.
they have someone else that might be an admin person or someone in the front desk that is a leader, and so it's pulling everyone to conversations, creating, or redirecting people. And manager here is trying to implement SOPs, trying to say this is how we do things in here, trying to kind of like enforce the culture. And one of the things that I told one of my clients the other day, because they were having big issues at this point, right? So you have someone that is trying to leave the organization, but if this person leaves or you let them go, they're leaders. They're pulling more than 80% of the team in culture of that organization, right? And this is not a leadership person. So these are things that we gotta identify in our organizations, like very very soon, and redirect and retrain this type of leaders. Can you tell us more about the difference between a leader and a manager?
So that is a very, very good point. And I could go off a few different tangents about what we were talking about. But a leader is again someone who does inspire others to follow one way or the other, right? Could be very negatively, could be positively. We love to think
Mhm.
about it in a positive light because it's again, it directs the culture, hopefully in a good way.
Mm.
And most of the way, no matter what, just like when I engage with a client, they're like, do you have core values? Like, well, no, like you do. We just need to uncover them,
Mm.
and we're not creating them; we are uncovering them. And sometimes, again, they follow whoever that leader might be. It's either the loudest person, or it's the one that's around, or whatever it might be. So there's a key piece to leadership because it's the human connection. It's the one that is connecting with the people in some form or fashion to make them go a certain direction. Different from management. Management is actually making sure that the job is being completed. So there are expectations. There's a job requirement. This output is expected, and we are managing to make sure that people know what the expectations are and they're meeting those expectations. And so that is management is someone of, like I said, again, making sure the output is done. A leader is just one to, again, inspire people one way or the other. And neither one is better than the other. Neither one is more important. They're both very important because you can have you can have a manager who gets a lot of stuff, but they're a cancer to the organization. They don't meet the core values, so they're very, very tough to deal with, but the output happens.
Yeah.
And the other side of things, you've got where you could have a very strong leader who doesn't have a lot of accountability in the organization, and then that's just as bad, right? Because then nothing ever gets done.
Yeah.
And so it's a tough mix because, like, for me, again, in my business, there was a time when, again, as I said, I don't have much accountability for myself at times. And when as an organization, you get more people and you get people doing all the work for you, and you're like, I don't have to commit to the things I just told you I was going to do. And I'm just not going to, who's going to stop me? Not to have that attitude, but people are going to follow that. So then I realized I don't have any accountability in my organization. And I use that word because back then I was using that word. And so I need to have a manager who does keep people's, keep them accountable. And so it was great. We got a lot of stuff done, but man, were people just burnt out and a couple leave and all those things. So just because you're soft in one, you can't overcorrect on the other side is the learning there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think as business owners, we have to know when to bring in a manager, especially if we're already in 5, we need. So what would be the key roles, John, that you will say to our audience that, they're trying to go from 5 plus to 15, putting that kind of like those median numbers in there, because a lot of the small business owners are kind of like within that range, right? From that 25 to 5. But you do need some role duplications, and it is extremely important that you identify early enough, because otherwise you're going to get burned out.
Yeah, I think that one thing I see a lot of is either people have a large leadership team where they think they have to have everybody in all the decisions, or there really isn't a leadership team and there's just kind of the owner that makes all the decisions. I think what the most important thing for all companies to realize is you've got to have someone that is setting the vision of the company, right? The long term, having the large relationships, right? There's definitely that person or that role, and then you got to have someone who actually does make sure that we're executing on the plan that we all put together. Meaning, get the leadership team and keeping them on track. Because even though people are on the leadership team, they still need to have a manager, right? They still need to have some direction and help. We oftentimes think they don't, and so we have all the leadership team members reporting into the top person, the owner, and that generally that's generally what the cap is really the owner and not getting out of the way. Other than that, on the leadership team, you've got to have, so you can actually have direction and strategy implemented. You have to have, essentially every business has to sell whatever they're making. They have to make it and then get paid. So as long as you not just have people doing sales or people doing operations or people doing collections, it's someone leading the strategy and people in the sales organization. Having a person running the strategy and implementation for the operations and getting the widgets out the door, where again, most of the employees in an organization do fall under that, right? The doers. And then, you have to have someone, again, as you're breaking that ceiling of 5+ million, you do have to have someone that's focused on the financials, whether that's, again, I know that's what you guys help implement, right? You don't need to hire big time CFO at that level. You just need to make sure you have a trusted someone that's helping you think bigger and not just checking the bank account to see if we can go do something.
Yeah.
So
you actually need financials. You need data to make it to the next level. Based on what you're saying, is having the right teams, right leadership, and not being the bottleneck. As learning. I guess growing as leaders, as business owners. I think it's personal growth as well, John. That is very important here, right? Because when I don't grow as a leader, then the number of followers in my team that I will have, it's less. And when it comes to having people responsible, creating a career path is why do I believe for the organization that is going to happen? Am I capable of, making it to the goals, right? I think the discipline and consistency is something that we as business owners have to have, but most importantly is learning how to delegate.
Yes. And not just tasks and things like that gets
Mhm.
easier over time, but at that 5 million level, you still have people that are, that really still are holding on to too many things. So there's the little things that can be delegated, but delegating authority and delegating strategy and implementation is a big thing that
Mhm.
doesn't get talked about a lot. To
Mhm.
your point, like if we're going to have someone sitting in a seat that maybe, um, oftentimes we're trying to bring people up within the organization, which is
Mhm.
fantastic. We want, we have them sitting in the sales leader seat, but ultimately they're just the best salesperson. And
Yeah.
so the owner or the visionary is still really leading the sales. And so we're not really, really letting them strive and thrive. If, we have to let that part go and trust that that person, if we're putting them in place, they trust that they are going to run that department and own it. That's a big key piece of keeping people from growing to that next level. Is I find most times it's either that's the wrong person that's up or it's the one they had, so we do that. Either we're not helping them grow or they're really at a ceiling already. And so we've got to get realistic on, is that the right person or do we need to bring someone else in? We call it the ideal leadership team. It might not be who's here today, but what do we need a year from now to execute what we just talked about? We
Mhm.
hope it's everyone in this room, but if it's not, we need to be real with putting a plan together to get the right person that could just really, really take the lid off. I
Yeah.
like this.
Wow, wow. What would business owners should be doing right now in January? I know that in a perfect world, it will be executing their business plan, but let's go down to earth, right?
Yeah.
So we know that many in a high number do not even have a plan in place. They only have an idea in their head of what they want, what do they anticipate, the growth decisions that they're going to make, but it's not a formal um, goal with objectives and measurables and KPIs and all of that. So for all
Mhm.
of those owners out there, for the ones that have a plan, they have a structure, they have a forecast, fascinating. But for the ones that don't, what should
Right.
we be doing right now in January?
Well, I would say no matter what, at least, again, getting some companies to think a month out is a big step, right?
Yeah,
At minimum, let's look at the next 90 days, right?
yeah.
Ideally, we're starting from scratch and let's make sure we know who we are, where do we want to go, right? Like we talked about, what's
Mhm,
that 5 year look like? What's 3 years look like? What do we really, really want as an owner and as an organization? We got to really start there. Like the ideally is
mhm,
start there and then you can start backwards. Okay, well, what do you do this in 3 years if we're trying to get this 5 year? What do you do it 1 year to get there? Then ultimately, okay, in order to get those, what do we need to do in the next 90 days? What's that sprint for that 13-week sprint? 90 days, one quarter. What do we need to do? That's the ideal way, knowing that ideal isn't possible for everyone. It's
mhm.
at least come up with some target goals of what the organization we'd like for it to look like in 1 year. And if you're just saying you want to grow 10%, then just keep doing what you're doing. But if you're trying to
Yeah.
grow something significantly, at minimum, get out of the business so you can work on it, right? Again, it's so funny when I do engage clients, right? Because our process is we meet together to start off with, even though it's
Mhm,
January. We say, I don't care, it's January. We're going to be working once a month for the next 4 months to make sure that we get who you are, who's the core of this
mhm,
company, so we know what to do in the future. We're still going to set some targets today,
mhm.
but they're going to be 90 days out. We'll get the bigger picture annual targets by the end because again, we don't want to set them for the wrong reasons
Yeah.
or because by the end of the year we actually want to accomplish them, right? So
Mhm,
we want to make sure that they're the right thing. So again, at minimum, if someone pure desperation, take 4 hours, get out of the business and go plan it out. If you don't have any other tools, if you are at that level of what you're saying, that 5 plus, you've got some other things at your disposal.
mhm,
So reach out to, there's all kinds of folks that will do a strategy session. Um, you know, reach out to anyone in your industry. There are industry groups that can help you do that. Or again, God forbid, call someone like me or an
mhm.
EOS coach, someone like that, that this is what we do. And,
Yeah.
it's really scary for some companies when we say we're going to come out of the company for the business for 8 hours to go work on the business. And they're like, oh, we can't possibly, how are we going to have
Mm,
time to do that? You're never gonna grow past where you are today if you
mm,
don't stop, get out of the business, to work on it. So
Yeah.
amen. Try something, right? I mean,
one thing that I always tell clients is that when you're in, the only thing you can see is what happened between these four walls, inside these four walls. When you're on top of it, and sometimes I do it even like, I have like this little video that I do with them, and I said, this is you inside this building right now. All the doors are closed and windows, and you're working and you're doing all of these things throughout the day, and see how the day starts, how the day goes, and how the day ends. And so now picture you come, this is all you see every day.
Mm-hmm.
So now put yourself on top. What do you see? You see the city, you see the trees, you see the street, you see the businesses next door to you, you see the billboards, you see all of these things, you see the weather, you get to appreciate everything else. So when you work on your business, you become creative. And that's when the ideas start to formulate. That's when things start, oh, wow, I see the bottleneck. I see that I don't have no one else making that decision. Why am I making all of those decisions? Why am I wasting time on that? Why am I doing that on a day-to-day basis, right? So this is what we want to take the business owners to think, and what you do, what your team does, because we have one client in common that you're helping. It is to see the vision in such an streamline where you see the roadblocks. And you see, like you were talking about these 13 weeks, right? The 90-day goals, the 90-day sprint. But sometimes we get so caught up on the target, on the 90-day target, that we do not measure the milestones. Mm-hmm. What happened in a month, right? Yeah. So January is about to end in 2 weeks from now. What happened? And then we have the weekly, right? I always say, what are the weekly tasks that we have? What are the measurables that we have on a weekly basis? What kind of reports are we seeing weekly? And then what are my daily to-dos? There have to be those non-negotiables that you said today. I have these 3 to 5 to-dos or 3 to 7, whatever number you want to put in there, but don't put a huge number. I always tell clients that, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? I do this for the finance part, John, and my clients have seen tremendously success. I had a client that said, Karen, I want to have in my saving. This does not include distributions. This does not include my investment, my tax plan. This does not include anything of my cash flow with the business. $2 million. We had 2.6. We just had a call yesterday, 2.6, yeah. But we said daily, this is a non-negotiable. Weekly, these are your tasks, and these are your milestones every 30 days, and these are your 90-day goals. So when we came to 90 days and when we came to December 31st, it was a no surprise, but we were measuring every single day. So, John, what will you tell to the business owners out there that they're like me, they're hustling every day, right? Yeah. They're like you, we're doing it, and we're doing it again. What would be those, I would say those, not advice, but kind of like to let us taste that, this is the difference of you doing it yourself and you doing it with a coach.
Oh, sure. So I have this often. So going back to something you said, it just clicked in my head when you were talking about, at least when we step out of the business to work on it, that's one step. What many owners do is they do that alone. Right? So it's whatever their ideas are, they come up with. So the massive step forward is stepping out of the business, but getting others to help you work on the business. That includes getting the leadership team to be thinking larger, bigger, et cetera, coming up with ideas. That's the most frustrating thing as owner, was you're the only one coming with ideas, but are we giving them the authority to do so? So that's number one, is making sure we have the people helping us. And if they're not the right people helping us, what are we doing about it? Then now back to your more specific, because I wanted to get that out there, because I think that that's mostly of what my work is getting the team to do the work, right? And then help enable the rest of the team to see the vision. But I think that does come back to even answering your question of there's people that implement, read books. I just had a discovery session with a client yesterday who's over 20 million. They're global. Very large company. They've inserted lots of disciplines within their company, and they're voracious readers. And so you can hear, they talk and you can hear the language of who they read that book of, right? There's Lencioni language. There's some Collins. There's, so that they've been good at implementing strategies and they've grown and they've done well. What they've missed in doing so, and this is one of the more successful self-implement companies that I've seen. Most of them, they get started and they do certain things, or they have a meeting and they just realize that they're having the weekly meetings for the sake of having weekly meetings, and they don't get the real point and the reason of those weekly meetings. The reason of those weekly meetings, so that we are fighting and finishing and completing the quarterly priorities that we agreed upon and meeting the financial objectives that we agreed upon. And so if we're not, we can course correct in between there. That's the point of the meeting. It's not to go have discussions every week that someone can jump on their soapbox and talk for 60 minutes. That's not the point. When you don't have, and so that's kind of one part of like reading a book and how to actually do it is one thing. I think the real power of having a third party, yourself included, right? You're not getting QuickBooks reports to people, right? You're helping with unsee things that they don't know. You are the expert. You're helping them see things they don't know. Me, I don't consider myself the expert. I consider myself the one that is asking the tough questions and making them uncomfortable to grow. Because most, again, if left to our own, unless we have a voracious, not just ego, but a desire to grow and win and at all costs, that comes at costs. You're going to continue to push. But most people, again, they're going to do what they know or they're comfortable with. So they're not rid of that person who is an absolute cancer in the business. They're not going to go hire business development. They're not going to put processes in place or see the value of it without someone really lifting up the cover and showing them. And so, and actually that's, again, I really now my job, my newest client happens to be a longtime friend who finally was like, all right, I get it. I need you. He's like, but the only way I will is if you make me uncomfortable. And I said, deal, right? Is make sure that I'm working for the owners, but I'm also the leadership team. Sometimes the owner needs to be wrangled and the leadership team needs that help. And so I'm constantly in that battle of making sure that we're all uncomfortable for the right reasons. And so we can be honest with each other. We have a high level of trust that we can say things that are helpful for the organization, whether someone wants to hear it or not. So you don't get that when you're implementing in your own, like even in my own business, I don't, I am not the facilitator anymore. I have a third party. I have another Bloom growth coach that does for my business. Even though I'm not in it day to day, I have him come in because I'm too in it. Even though I'm not in it, I'm too in it. Right. So
mentally,
again, helps me see what I don't see. And
it helps you, like I always said, shake the chair, make you feel uncomfortable. I think that's a very healthy way of put it, right? Why we have a coach and why we have someone that comes in and looks at the numbers. People sometimes say, I just hired this coach or this advisor, but I don't like what they're telling me because I got to make these changes. And when you were saying that, I was going back to one of the clients that mentioned, I got to fire my mother-in-law. And she started with us when we started, but, she doesn't want to change the systems. We just upgraded and she's still using the old systems. We just said that we're going to do things digitally, and she's fighting with the receptionist. She's fighting with admin because she wants to do paper. And we said, no, we're going digital. And so they said, we're going to reduce costs by not making copies and not mailing things out because we're now going to email, and we implemented a platform where clients have access to. But guess what? Now this person wants to continue to mail. And so we can reduce the cost, and it's a back and forth battle. And so the new employees are confused because we're saying digitally, but this person is doing. So when you were saying all of this, see how uncomfortable this is to have the conversation with employees that have been with you for so long. But we have to understand that our business, where we are right now, is not where we were when we started.
No, absolutely. And gosh, most of the work I do is family. A lot of the work I do is family business. And that's the toughest part. I mean, you nailed it, mother-in-law. And actually, and as you said, some employees have been with the company so long, they do feel like family. So people are willing to do the hard work of maybe it's time for them to go do something different, right? Could be within the organization, could be without. And I'm certainly not a hack job guy. I don't want to come in and do that. But at the same time, like that is significantly holding the company back. And I call that, and because I just had an example, a very, very similar situation. happened to be on the finance side of things with one of my clients. And it took, I heard this person's name for 4 months that they were a possible issue. I'm like, okay, well, what are we doing about it? Well, yeah, no, I don't know. No. I'm like, all right, well, envision this, right? This is how it is today. And he explained out what's it like today. Let's say they're not here and these implementations that we have that we're wanting to do. What happens then? What does it look like? He's like, wow. And so we agreed to, and I always say it's, in some cases, it's not addition by subtraction, it's multiplication by subtraction, right? When we get rid of the right thing or stop doing the right thing, it just unleashes, because it's amazing. It's people is the last thing that companies do well. Right.
Wow. This has been great, John. How can our audience, our listeners connect with you and your team and your company? How can they find you? And if you'll be, leave us in this 2026 with one word or, something that you'll say, this is what I want business owners, I want to be reminded for, or something that, that you wishing everyone to do in 2026 that will make a change in their business.
Yeah. So the first part, getting in touch with me, it is John Glon. It rhymes, yes. And I'm the third. So it's a couple generations didn't understand that it rhymed. But I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me as that. I'm on Instagram, glon.john. And my email is john.g@bloomgrowthcoach.com. So reach out at any time. And obviously you can Google me and Bloom Growth Coach, and there's a landing page there as well. And then as far as 2026, I think uncomfortably growing would be something I want people to think about. If you're comfortable with your plan, if you're comfortable with what you're doing, it's probably not going to end in the way that you actually think you want. Right. So if you're uncomfortable with what the outlook is for the next year, then you're on the right path to do something about it.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, John. It has been great. And I can't wait to connect more with you off camera and, continue this conversation. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Karen. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to The Throne of Wealth. Be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review to help others find the show. A special thanks to our sponsor, King of Kings Accounting Firm, dedicated to helping you build and protect wealth for generations. Until next time, take the reins of your financial future and lead with confidence.